I didn't really pay that much attention to what she was going through, maybe. When she'd come over and talk, I felt like that last time she came and sat on the couch and talked to me, I always thought about our last conversation, and I always felt like, well, I should have said this or should, hey.
Yeah, you second guess what you should have or could have done.
Yeah. Because, you had no idea this would be the last time you'd see him, and then it just... But yeah, she wasn't real happy. She seemed real sad that night.
Warning. The podcast you're about to listen to may contain graphic descriptions of violent assaults, murder, and adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Murder Police Podcast. We have with us today two very special guests, Miss Beverly and Patches. And these two lovely ladies were family of Letha Rutherford. Miss Beverly, you were her aunt, and Patches, you're her first cousin. Is that right?
Yes.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves? And then ultimately, we want to know about Letha. That's why we're here today. Just begin telling us about you all and growing up with Letha.
Well, of course, I knew Letha from the day she was born. Of course, I was close. They lived close to us when she was born. And as she grew older, she was always at my house. So she was more like a daughter than a niece. As a matter of fact, she would even tell everybody that, it's her mom. Because she just loved being at our house. And she'd play with my kids and everything. And of course, they were just always there, and I was with her, almost on a daily basis her whole life. So I was very close to her, and she was close to us. And she loved, my children like they were her siblings. So we pretty much would always know stuff that's going on with her pretty well. So.
And Patches, I guess she was probably like a sister to you. You all grew up together, is that right?
Yeah, we grew up together. Like I said, I'm about a year older, I think, than her. And she was always at the house. They would walk from their house to our house. They would walk when they were little. Like I said, we didn't live far from them. But it was closer to go over the hill through the woods than it was to go around the road. And they would walk over the hill when they were little, like,
on Sunday morning,
3, 4, 5.
Church.
They would walk over the hill and come hang out with us.
We was on our way to church one Sunday, and it was cold. And Letha was probably about 2, which one made Little Hog about 4. And we started up the hill, and here they come walking over the hill. It was cold. All she had on was a diaper.
And no parents with them.
No, and I stopped. I said, what are y'all doing? We was coming to your house. We were hungry.
And, we played in the creek together. We caught crawdads together. We played games together. We fought over stuff together. She was just, part of my family. I was
like
very
a sibling.
Close. Yeah.
Really more than a cousin, probably.
Yes.
Yeah, she really was.
Yeah, when we were little, we were very, very close.
Mm-hmm. She was kind of goofy. I remember when she was little one day, she was riding with one of her friends. I lived kind of down the hill from them. And she was probably 10 maybe. And I took the kids for a walk because, it was just out the country. And we was just walking. Well, directly here she come flying over that hill with her arms out.
On her bicycle.
Not on her bicycle handlebars. And this old man that lived down from us, he was coming out. And I was like, oh, no, because it was in a curve. I thought he's going to kill her.
Hit her.
And I tried to holler at her. And, of course, she was hollering and laughing and singing. She didn't hear me.
Arms wide open.
And she, bam, he
singing.
He hit her.
He hit her.
But it didn't hurt her, really. He hit the way he hit her. It made her fall off her back.
Oh, my God. He hit her.
Yeah, he hit her. He got out, and he was, like I said, he was pretty old.
He was probably a nervous wreck, wasn't he?
He was. It just tore him out pieces. And he was just like, I didn't see her. I said, well, no, because she was in the curve. The way she come around that curve, I said, it wasn't your fault. There's no, he had no way of knowing, but it didn't really hurt her. I called her mom and told her she needed to take her to the hospital to check her out. And she did, but there wasn't nothing really wrong with her. She She was a little bit banged up, but not
I'd
too
say
bad.
so. Oh my God. So then I guess as she got older, you all probably still remain close as teenagers. Is that right?
Yeah, for the most part, we still saw each other a lot. She had a lot more freedom as a teenager than I did. My mom and dad were really, really strict. My dad would have chopped my little head off if and so she had more freedom than me. But yeah, we still, we went to school together. We went to high school together. We still saw each other like every single day. And we still hung out together. And, about the time of her passing, I was 19. I had been married for a couple of years and I had left home, but I still saw her, on a regular basis. I didn't see her every day once I got married, but I saw her regularly.
Beverly, did she still come over even after Patches left and hang out?
Yeah, she would still come over and hang out and just always be there. And, she just loved our family. And we was more like she'd always say, I was more like a mom to her than a real mom because I babysit her all the time, she just, and her dad, he just always going about how that she would mind me better than she would them. He just.
Well, she probably knew from Patches that you all would get a hold of her, so she didn't want to test that.
Yeah.
So I guess take us up to when she, well, actually, before she went missing, had you all noticed any kind of changes in her, or was everything fine and then she just started missing?
No, I noticed that she seemed anxious and just like she was just a little scared or something. And I don't know, she seemed anxious because probably the last time I saw her, I told her, I said, well, you can come over here and stay with us. She was just seeming like she was anxious. Because by this time, her dad had died, and then her mom had remarried somebody else and moved off. So she basically just lived there with her brother. Oh. And his name was Maurice, but everybody called him Little Hog. It was just a nickname that they all called him. But they lived in the house that she was raised up in. And, of course, she worked there on the farm. They stripped tobacco and stuff like that, But I see her, still would see her a lot. And my husband, he would go there and cut wood and stuff because he lived out in the woods. It's like a forest back there. And so he would go over there and cut wood and stuff sometime. And matter of fact, the last time he was over there, it was around Christmas time. And because she come missing on December 16th. But he'd been over cutting wood. And she had put a Christmas card in the glove box of the truck for us while he was cutting wood. And then I didn't even find that card about July after we'd already found out that she had died. Yeah.
Well, when she was seeming anxious or nervous, had you asked her what's troubling you?
Yeah, she just she had friends, I think, that I don't know, that she wasn't really comfortable with or something. And she was 18. She was a very pretty girl. And, she didn't really have stability, with her mom and her dad at home, because it's different when you still live at home, with your parent, if you're still young. But it's just her and her brother. So I think people would come around and stuff that she wasn't real comfortable with. So she just kind of seemed a little anxious. And she was kind of mad at her mom because her mother would kind of she felt like she had abandoned her, sort of. Because after she remarried, it's kind of like she just sort of didn't think about Letha a whole lot.
Started a new life and kind of left the old one behind, maybe, is how she felt?
I think so. And I guess she figured where Letha was 18, she's just like, oh, well, you on your own now or something. I don't know. But she wasn't real. They didn't seem like a real good relationship by this time.
So Patches, before she went missing, had you talked to her up to that point, or had you all kind of lost
saw her touch? She came to my house probably about a week before she had went missing. Like I said, I was married and I was living on East Hickman. She just was upset. Her dad had died and she had just felt like that, that had been her home. She was born there. Her entire life. And then they had come in and, people would come, mainly men, had come in and they just kind of took over. So like, it was like it was still her house and her stuff was there, but like almost like somebody else was in charge of her life. And she was, frustrated about it. People just in and out all the time. And some of the things that were going on there, she was frustrated about. And she was afraid of one of the people. And she had told me that she was very afraid of this person, and that she had, just wished her, they wouldn't treat her like that if her dad was still alive, and of course her mom had left. And she told me she had asked her mom to come live with her mom, and she told her no. And I told her that day, I said, look, we'll go get your stuff and you can stay here with me and my husband. You can stay here. You don't have to go back. And she was like, no, I don't, She said, let me think about it. So she said she would think about it and stuff. But I don't think she wanted to leave. It was her home. She wanted the people who had taken over her home. Because when her dad was alive, it wasn't, he was in charge. She wanted her home back. And so that was the last time I saw her. It was about a week before she went missing.
Now, the dad, he was your husband's brother?
Yes.
Okay.
He was my husband's brother.
Okay.
And he died.
What was his name?
His name was Maurice.
His name was Maurice, but we called him
Maurice
Big
also.
Hog.
And the son was Maurice. So
Yeah,
there was two
Junior.
Maurice.
But they
Those
called
two.
him Hog.
Okay.
There was Big Hog
So I
and
knew
Little
he was
Hog.
big and little, but I didn't know if he was
Big
called
Hog and
Maurice.
Little Hog, yeah.
Okay. Well, Beverly, I wanted to ask, her dad, Letha's dad, he was Maurice, and he was the brother to your husband. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
So when he passed, what did he pass from, and how did that affect Letha and the family?
Well, it affected her really bad because he died sudden. He had a heart attack. Because the day before he died, he was working on a tractor tire. It was on a Sunday, and it was really hot. He died like July the 16th or something. And because it's just real hot. And we went up there, and he was out there fixing that tire for that big tractor. Well, he came over to the house later that evening, and he was just talking and playing with the kids like he always did. It didn't seem like anything was wrong. And he was just sitting in the living room talking to my husband. And then I had a really bad headache. So I said, I'm going to lay down. My head's hurting because it'd been really hot that day. And he was sitting in the living room talking. And he was just like, oh, well, if I had a head like that and it didn't hurt, I'd think something's wrong, just acting goofy. So I went and laid down, and then I dozed off sleep. And then the next thing I knew, the phone was ringing. And it was his wife crying, saying he was dying. I'm like, how did he be dying? He's sitting in the living room. I didn't realize they had left. But as soon as they had left, they went home because they didn't live far from us. And he had asked her, she had made a cherry pie or something. He'd asked her to bring a piece of that pie. And he was eating it, and he just started having a heart attack.
That was my pie, thank you. I baked that pie.
You baked that pie?
Yeah.
That was your pie, and he ate.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Killed him with cherry pie.
And, she was like, come on, then we'll take you to the hospital. So she was like driving really fast, and he was like, well, don't kill us before we
So
get
he
there.
was conscious at that
Yeah.
point.
He was like, don't kill us, before we get there. So she was like going really fast because she just took him up here at this St. Joe East, where St. Joe East is now. And then when they took him in there, they didn't let her go in immediately, and then she said she heard him fall off the table. And then she went in and he was dead. So we went up to the hospital, while he was still at the hospital. And he just died real sudden. So it was really, really hard on Letha because, she was young and just lost her dad like that. And she was real close to her dad, a lot more than she was her mom.
Now, were the mom and dad, was he married to her at that point, or had he remarried?
No.
It was Letha's mom that drove him?
Yeah, it was his mom, her mom did.
So he died so suddenly, and then I guess at that point where she maybe had more of a relationship with her dad, I guess that even put more of a strain on her.
Yeah, because her mom didn't seem like she waited real long till she remarried. And I think Letha felt like, wow, my dad's not even cold yet, married somebody else. And I think that bothered her because she did get married so soon after he died. And she didn't really like the person she married that well. And then, of course, when she started getting uncomfortable at her house, she did call and ask her mom, could she move in with her? And she's like, no, there's no room here. So,
did you, Patches, have much of were you much of a support system for her when she lost her dad?
Again, like I said, I was fairly young. I was 19 and I had a new husband, and I was recently pregnant. And so I don't think I wasn't there for her like I probably should have been. I do know she was devastated. She was a daddy's girl. Both of us were. And like he was the rock in her family. He was the foundation. He was the constant. I felt like in her life. And I felt like that, when he passed, she felt lost. Like it was just, she just didn't have a direction.
Yeah, I feel that way too. And I had a baby not long before that. Because when she died, my baby was 9 months. Mm-hmm. And I was super busy with just taking care of baby. And, of course, I had other kids because I got 8 altogether. So, I was just really busy. So I think that I didn't really pay that much attention to what she was going through, maybe. When she'd come over and talk, I felt like that last time she came and sat on the couch and talked to me, I always thought about our last conversation, and I always felt like, well, I should have said this or should have, how you do.
Yeah, you second guess what you should have or could have done.
Yeah. Because, you had no idea that'd be the last time you'd see him, and then it just, but yeah, she wasn't real happy. She seemed real sad that night because everybody was talking and laughing, and all of them would just always carry on. It's like every time we had company, it was a party. Everybody had a big family. Yeah. Everybody just talked and eat and laughed, and kids played, and it was just, and I had noticed that night she seemed really sad. And because I sat down beside her, and I was like, "What's the matter, honey?" And she just didn't really go into detail. And she was sitting there playing with my youngest baby, Christina was her name. And of course, she's 33 now. It's been so long ago, but she kind of played with her a little bit. But I could tell that she just didn't seem herself. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How long was it when you last saw her at your house that night, or you, Patches, before she turned up missing?
It was probably maybe not hardly a week. Yeah, because she was kind of like there on the weekend. And then, like I said, she got missing like kind of during the week. And I'm not sure exactly, maybe like on a Wednesday or something. Because her brother came on Saturday, and I was like cleaning house, sweeping and mopping it all. And he was like, "Have you seen Letha?" And I'm like, "No, honey, I haven't seen her. Why?" And he said, "Well, I've not seen her for 2 or 3 days." And I'm like, "Well, just where'd she go?" He said, "I don't know." He said, she'd went to work that day stripping tobacco. And she had come in. And he told me, he said, her purse is there, but he said her knife's all that's missing out of it. But her purse is there. And I said, well, that's weird. He said, well, she takes her purse with her where she goes. So I said, well, she may have just left with one of her friends or something, but it's almost like we knew. Mm-hmm. Because she just didn't do that. She didn't just take off, nobody know where she was. Because, but this was like about the middle of December, and then they didn't find her till about the middle of April.
Wow. So after her brother told you that he hadn't seen her in a couple of days, mm-hmm. did he just report back to you all within the next few days after that? Said, I still haven't seen her? Yeah,
he kept looking for her. He put out missing posters of her. They started putting missing posters around, asking everybody that knew her, had they seen her. And by this time, it was getting really scary because you're like, wow, But like I was telling you, she had kind of had an argument with her mom, and I thought, she's just maybe trying to get back even with her. Like trying
scare
to just...
her, make her say, I'll show you, not let me come stay with you.
Yeah, that's what I kind of thought. Because I even asked him, I said, well, maybe she just met her mom, and she just kind of let... And then when Christmas came, and nobody heard from her at Christmas, because like I say, it was a couple of weeks before Christmas. Or 10 days or something before Christmas. When Christmas came and nobody heard from her, it was like, there's something.
Something right.
Yeah.
Well, Patches, I know you had moved out and gotten married. How did you come to learn that she was missing?
My memory is not nearly as good as my mother's, but I honestly think Mom is the one who told me. She asked me, she was like, have you seen, again, has she been over to your house? And I told her, about a week ago, she stayed all night with me, but, I haven't seen her. And again, I was kind of like Mom. I thought, well, she's mad at her mom, and she's, went up stayed with one of her friends or whatever, and she'll come rolling in any day now, with some crazy story. And we'll all laugh about it. But again, like my mom, when Christmas came and she didn't show up for Christmas, I thought, yeah, she's not punishing her mom at this point. Something's wrong. So, but yeah, I think Mom's the one that told me that Little Hog was looking for her. Mm-hmm. Like he wasn't there the night, that she went missing. It's because he had to stay with Uncle Rob. He couldn't go home.
And then that really left her just
alone.
By herself.
Alone.
By herself with whoever wanted to hang out.
By herself when her brother was not able to come over.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you've said earlier that a lot of people were coming in and out. So I'm sure if it's like most groups of friends, when your friend's in trouble, they can't come back because, you get the story. Mm-hmm. So maybe people knew she was going to be really alone.
Mm-hmm. And she had stripped tobacco that day with some people that lived nearby. Because like I said, it was in the wintertime. And they would come and pick her up and take her back home. So they took her back home that evening, I don't know, 5 or 6 or whatever. And then the next morning when they come to pick her up, they blew their horn. She didn't come out. And they said the door was open about a couple inches, her back door. So they kind of went and knocked. Nobody never come to the door. So then, they left because they thought she was just gone. And then they left. And then her brother was telling us about that. He said, yeah, when they come to pick her up, they said that, the door was kind of open, but they didn't go in. They just knocked, and then when nobody came to the door, they left.
Wow.
So
it's sometime from when she got through stripping the tobacco the night before, and the next morning is when she...
Yeah, sometime during the middle of the night. Sometime during that night.
So fast forwarding, so these months go by, and it's January, and it's February, and March, and April. Now it's springtime again in Kentucky. Mm. So what, I guess during this time, was the family just at a loss, didn't know what to do?
Well, they looked for
Everybody looked.
Everybody looked. And would ask questions, and, they had police out there with dogs and looking all around where she lived. Like I say, they live kind of in the woods, all back down through the trees and just everywhere, and they couldn't find anything.
Yeah, like my dad, my cousins, they walked all around down in the woods looking for her. Went around and asked people, everybody that they thought that, she might know, or anybody that she was friends with, her friends. Everybody looked, because everybody liked her. She had literally zero enemies. Everybody loved her.
Hey, there's more to the story, so go download the next episode like the true crime fan that you are.
The Murder Police podcast is hosted by Wendy and David Lyons and was created to honor the lives of crime victims, so their names are never forgotten. It is produced, recorded, and edited by David Lyons. The Murder Police podcast can be found on your favorite Apple or Android podcast platform, as well as at murderpolicepodcast.com, where you will find show notes, transcripts, information about our presenters, and a link to the official Murder Police Podcast merch store, where you can purchase a huge variety of Murder Police Podcast swag. We are also on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, which is closed caption for those that are hearing impaired. Just search for the Murder Police Podcast and you will find us. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe for more and give us 5 stars and a written review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you download your podcasts. Make sure you set your player to automatically download new episodes so you get the new ones as soon as they drop. And please tell your friends. Lock it down, Judy.